mic on, and when it turns green,
Test.
you're hot.
Okay.
And then when you're done, you just hit your green gut. All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming to the second night of the public presentations. Much like last night, I do want to start by just thanking the committee members here from the Vision Fund. They have put in a ton of hours, about 25 tours over the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Plus meetings before that to discuss the project. So thank you everybody for all your time and effort so far. It's been great to work with you all. Mr. Presenter, you'll notice up on the screen here is the same thing we're looking at here. And up in the top right corner for you is your time limit. We're doing 10 minutes for the public presentation portion. We're sticking pretty strict to that 10 minutes, following which we'll do 10 minutes of Q&A.
Great.
So whenever you're ready, sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Vision Committee. My name is Eric Kaikas, landscape architect, longtime Rapid City resident. I'm here on behalf of the Rapid Creek Recreation Corridor. I'm also splitting roles. I'm on the board for the Black Hills Fly Fishers, a group that's got special interest in this project. I'm also a potential provider of the design services for this in the long term, how we're going to implement this project. So let's talk about Rapid Creek. Did you know it's a red ribbon trout stream? Located right in the downtown of our beautiful city. It just doesn't get enough attention. In my opinion, it is a great resource, something really wonderful, an accentuation of our life here in Rapid City. Something that makes us a great value and a great destination for visitors and for people who live here to enjoy. We're proposing 2 in-stream recreation parks. They're simple. They're changes to the structure of the creek to allow for better access, for better fishing, for more recreation. And they're going to create quite a stir. Like a lot of communities around us, Green River, Wyoming, Norfolk, Nebraska, Reno, Nevada. They've done similar projects. They've done it as an economic driver. They've created recreation. They've also created a safer, better fishery and more enduring and attractive opportunity for their communities. These were visionary projects. I saw what they did in those communities. 10 minutes is pretty quick, so I'm going to go quick here. So the two locations for our in-stream parks, I don't know if I think you took the tour, you're familiar. Kind of on the south side of the fairgrounds there where they keep some of the horses is one location. There's an in-stream structure there that is very dangerous. It's also a real restriction to our fisheries. We want to remove it and replace it with something more recreationally driven and also safer for community. This could be the potential safety and security that could save a human life in the long term. In fact, there has been loss of life in this location. The other is north of the polo grounds, similar limitations there. There's an irrigation ditch that's dangerous. We want to fix it. This is what is proposed conceptually. It's kind of what we call the sizzle of the project. Updates to the channel, parking area, and also access. And this doesn't mean we couldn't also do playgrounds and other facilities in support of these, but the main thrust here is improvements to the creek itself as a park. Kind of creative, kind of fun. The location, similar, very similar. Both projects very similar. They're actually pretty close in proximity to each other. One idea would be, could I put in at Stewart Park and take out here? Absolutely. Could it make a day adventure down the creek in a canoe, in a raft, small raft, a tube, or a kayak? Absolutely. Is it going to increase access for fisher persons? Absolutely. Like I said, this could save a human life. It really increases the ability for people to use the creek and access it. This in tow brings along wellness and exercise and other benefits. The economic impact of this could be in the millions. As visitors come here, they may use this facility on a third or fourth day during their stay as a part of an adventure and add on to the money multiplier that Rapid City could provide for them. And of course, as a fisher person, this will change our fishery. Right now we have a divider line at the northern one of these two locations that really anything above it is a cold water fishery, anything below it's a warm water fishery. We're having difficulty moving fish from location to location. This would change that. It would make our fishery much more compelling, meaning larger fish, more challenging fish, and more people fishing. So, and we're, the Black Hills Fly Fishers will support that with money if this gets down the road. Like I mentioned, we mitigate 2 safety hazards. We increase ingress, meaning getting into the creek and getting out of the creek. And then also the ability for pedestrians and other users to access the creek. It keeps people in the corridor, and it gives us ability for better access to people in case of emergency or also training for emergencies. Ironically, these kind of parks, only about 1 in 7 of the visitors will get wet, meaning will they go in the water? Well, not only a few of them. A lot of others will use the facility as a park, and this area of town needs more parks. These structures are fun. We like fun. Fun's good. And it's a great addition to the cards, the inventory that Parks has, and the diversity of the offerings that Parks provides for our residents and visitors. So this would add kayaking as one compelling adventure type to the residents and visitors of Rapid City. There's that dangerous element I'm describing, that head wall. It's dangerous because people can fall. It's dangerous because it could cause drowning. It's also really difficult for fish to move up or down. Our proposal is to remove it and create deeper, safer water, and then increase the amount of movement of fish from lower to upper. Quite honestly, these parks are pretty simple to take care of. Some trash removal and cleanup from time to time, making sure things are relatively clean, that sort of thing. They'll be free for use for visitors. They'll also be free for use for residents. And even in the small town of Norfolk, with a population of 31,000, the people that come to their park spend $2 million. We could do some math and figure out what that would do to a community of our size. Plus, we have a much larger area of creek to benefit from this. And even could help with business recruitment, retention of employees, that sort of thing, especially those who are interested in paddle sports or water sports or fly fishing. Sorry, I'm a bit biased here. There's some other parks in the nation of like size, context. We would be the first in South Dakota. We would be the first in South Dakota. Here we are in our timeline, and the need we have is to complete our preliminary design so that we can get our bridging documents to use for our permits. We need our permits, Corps of Engineers type, that sort of thing. And in order to get our grants and funding, we need the permits in place. This is our ask, that we help get this capital going in the preliminary design phase. And then we've got some really creative ideas on how we're going to deliver this project through a design-build relationship. We'll do the design and engineering locally. We'll be supported by a national consultant, S2O. By the way, Justin Harriman is here from the board for their group, if I have any technical need for him. We have a local construction team in mind. We'll keep the economy spinning locally, and these are pretty easy to build. Basically, you're just placing boulders in the trajectory of the shoreline and within the flow of the river. And because of these creative ideas, we're going to reduce costs by about 50%. Here's our team. We've got a great bunch of stakeholders who have committed resources, support, and money for the project, but we need those permits. In order to get the permits, we need to finish the engineering. Two particulars here I want to mention are the Black Hills Fly Fishers, which I'm a board member of, and the South Dakota Game Fish and Parks, who they manage this as a fishery, and it's a great one, so that's exciting. All right, 28 seconds left. Thank you. It's really, really good to be able to present for this, and thank you for your time. We are now available for questions.
Thank you so much for your time and for the presentation. I'll start off. You mentioned the ask would go towards the engineering and design and stuff to then allow for the permitting. How confident are you in all of that, making it through, the Corps of Engineers, FEMA, et cetera? Has there been any movement on that previously?
I'm going to call Justin Harriman up here. He'll talk about STO's track record with permitting.
So, Mr. Chair, that's a great question. And when we did our preliminary feasibility study and had Scott Shipley, who is the preeminent engineer for these types of structures in the United States, he's actually designed and engineered about 75% of the ones that exist worldwide. So he is truly the subject matter expert. His company, S2O Designs, has a 100% success rate. So they have every project that they have gotten through the design phase has had 100% success in permitting. And that's because of the rigor and the processes that they have in place. There have been one or two times where they've had to go reapply for a permit, and that was due to some lack of adequate flood mapping. Fortunately, we actually have amazing flood maps due to the 1972 flood, and we've been working with some folks at the South Dakota School of Mines and Technology who actually have done a topology survey of the creek already, which we can use to augment. So he is totally confident that the permitting, it's a matter of walking through the steps, but we have zero concerns about success there.
Thank you so much. Chair recognizes Kyle.
Yeah, on your map here, about 100 yards down from that Lowhead Dam is a 90-degree bend in the creek. It's pretty silted in at the moment. I fish there a lot, and it's hard to access. Is there a plan to like dredge the whole channel all the way down to Campbell Street, or is that part of it?
Yeah, so during the construction, one of the requirements with regards to permitting is we can't increase the silt load within the creek. So part of the construction process, when they're dealing with these structures that have, you know, high sediment accumulation, is they essentially move the water around the sediment buildups, accumulations, and you scoop it out. And then you put it somewhere. My understanding is it makes really good garden soil. And so probably there'd be some great places. I'm sure the landfill wouldn't mind adding it to their compost as well. So, I mean, that's from a disposal standpoint, it's actually something that could even be sold because it's very good from an organic matter standpoint. So yeah, we got to make sure that we do that properly, and that is a component of construction as well as the permitting.
And I was also curious, or a little confused maybe. Is there two separate areas that you're going to work on, or wouldn't it be an entire
Two separate
flow
areas.
all the way down?
Correct. So they're not very far apart.
Yeah. What about that middle section? What are you going to do with that?
I don't know how to make it go back.
Here we go.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
So the two locations, north of the polo fields and south of the fairgrounds, it's about a half a mile apart, really.
Yeah.
Two locations.
So really that section between the two red boxes becomes a nice transition point. There's no changes that need to be made to the stream there. And it's a nice, what we like to call transitional section, so people can, you know, catch their breath before they go to the next structures. And it really makes a nice, Scott Shipley, our engineer, said this makes just an amazing recreational area, because you really have two places with structures, and then you got a little pause, and then you got another place with structures. So it's really an ideal park setting. Did I
Okay.
answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's good. Thanks.
Chair recognizes Greg.
Thank you guys for coming. Really enjoyed the walkthrough last week or so. My concern is the water flow. You know, in summertime, it doesn't seem like there's enough water in the creek to have a meaningful experience of being in the water. It's only 1 in 7. Oh, thank you. Only 1 in 7 will use the water, but I just wonder, is there enough water flow, and can you speak to that in some of the other rivers that you talk about in other cities, Norfolk and somewhere in Colorado? And then, what's the elevation difference? Is there enough drop to create a water experience? Thanks.
So I'm going to let Justin answer the question on the paddling, because he's the kayaker. I will tell you that there is enough elevation difference to create these structures. And then speaking on behalf of the 6 or the 7 that don't use the facility, the facilities are perfectly aligned for open green space, that sort of thing. And then the fishing is a bonus. So I'm going to let the kayaker answer the paddling question, though. Is there enough flow for adequate paddling?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the answer is absolutely. There will be times where it's a better experience. So those of us that have more experience, like basically this time of year when we tend to have rain events and meltwater, and then also, you know, September, October, that's going to be prime time. But when we create these wave type structures like you see here, any time of the year, even when we're pushing 35, 40 cubic feet per second down the creek, it's absolutely great to go do river surfing. And the other thing is we're creating a park that is very accessible for kids to inner tube and people who are, less experienced to go use the park. So you're gonna have varying skill levels, and there's gonna be some prime time when we've got 200, 300 CFS. It's gonna be really crazy and a lot of fun, but, the average usage during the middle of the year will be less experienced boaters, kids in inner tubes. On the site number 2, we actually plan to build a bypass, and it'll be a waiting area, which is also a great way to get those young people and 5, 6, 7-year-olds out there playing in the creek in a safe manner. Right now, if they want to go play in the creek, it's potentially dangerous, and so we're really creating an opportunity for everybody of different skill levels to interact. And from a gradient perspective, we've got plenty of drop. And if you go look at the report that we provided, the summary on the last couple pages, Scott says basically our use is gonna be, less, the primary use is gonna be less skilled paddlers, but I'll tell you, for someone who's a solid class 3-4 boater, this is great, because I can go throw my boat in after work in July and go surf in that wave, or go stand at paddleboard in that wave, which is also a ton of fun. So, good question.
I'll add on to that one. So they did this in Green River about a decade ago, Green River, Wyoming, on the Green River. They basically turned frog water in kind of a back area. Does anybody know the vernacular term frog water? Kind of the slow-moving stuff that's, not kind of shallow, not real good fishing, nothing really going on there. And in Green River, they turned frog water, sort of dull areas, into events, right? And just what Justin said, a lot of people will just keep going through that same obstacle again and again, or surfing it, meaning they stay in the rip of it and they paddle. So I'll support that as well. So.
And Lyons, Colorado actually has really similar flows, and these pictures illustrate that even during low water, there's a ton of use there. We tend to go to the Rocky Mountain Folk Festival, and in August, when they don't have much melt, there's tons of people tubing and playing in the creek, and it's a blast.
Chair recognizes Matt James.
Thanks, gentlemen, for being here presenting. I'm trying to remember, and could you help me out? Do the groups involved in this proposal, have they had any history with the Vision Fund Committee? I feel like I remember hearing that or seeing that. We've absorbed a lot of information, so it's hard to remember.
Can you answer that?
Yes.
Yeah. So this will actually be the third time that we've proposed this project to the Vision Committee. Last funding go round, the committee approved the project, and the city council did not choose to fund it. And that's why we went ahead and found some people to finance the engineering design study. So we've outlaid $16,000 for that study, and previously at a previous study we'd outlaid about $6,000. So we've got a lot of skin in the game here, and we've been working closely with Game Fish and Parks. They have put in, I believe, 6 grant applications, because if it has to do with access or habitat, they can provide funds for it. But all of those things are really held up and impeded until the design and the engineering is fully complete. So we're asking for these funds to help us facilitate those additional funding mechanisms, because that's the big barrier to getting the project completed, is getting that design. So the answer is yes. This is our third time asking, and we'd love to see this project in our community.
The last 10 seconds, Matt. Black Hills Fly Fishers has money dedicated for this project once we get through the permitting portion, or at least getting this through the vision portion.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate, especially the tour. Those that could make it, I know we were all very impressed, and it was very eye-opening, not only just about learning more about the creek and all the different uses it can have, but also about the safety factor was very eye-opening and, concerning as well. But we appreciate you guys coming back year after year and continuing to bring this to everybody's attention. And you guys do a great job. This is a great proposal, and I appreciate all your efforts. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, we will recess for 10 minutes and be back at 4:30. All right. Welcome, sir. Just to kind of reiterate, we're seeing the same screen here that you're seeing up there. The top right corner top left corner will show the time, 10 minutes for the presentation portion, and then we'll jump right into 10 minutes of Q&A. So whenever you're ready, sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Richard Witt. I am the president of Post 320 Baseball. I've been in Rapid City since 2001, and my son is a current player on the Varsity Stars team. Thank you for your time. It was nice to meet some of you, most of you that attended the on-site visit. And I have a couple new things since then to present to you, and we're going to start there. So the whole idea behind this is to talk about baseball, but at the same time, it's to talk about the potential impact that this would have to the city of Rapid City. First off, with the impact of the baseball program, what we're proposing is a total field renovation, putting in a sports turf field, making the field more dimensional, like a typical baseball field, and providing a better playing surface for anyone that's using that facility. The other part to that project or process is to improve the seating and the stadium effect that we would create to the ballpark. As you can see, this is kind of a conceptual drawing of the proposal. As if I could scroll down here, this would be the front missions, and as you would approach the gates to walk into the stadium, quite an impact statement there when you come to the ballpark. As we scroll down, this is again another look from what would be the south side. Looking at it, the structure is designed so there is minimal visual impairment from any supporting structures for the roof, for the shade over the seating. It will potentially hold, I believe the number is close to 5,000 seats. I better double check that, but quite an improvement to what we currently have right now. Here's kind of an aerial view from the west side of it, and an overall above view of the facility. We feel that, I can sit here and talk about baseball and talk about how this would improve the program and how this improves the playability of the program. But we're still using Pete Lean Field. Pete Lean Field, we have a lot of parents that are dedicated to making this field as good as we can with what we have to work with. Yes, this would be a very huge improvement to the program, to the field, to the city. But we're still playing baseball on the field that we currently have. Is it ideal? Is it perfect? No, but we're making it work. We have a lot of dedicated parents, myself as one of them, that put a lot of time and effort into maintaining that field and providing the best playing conditions that we can. Having it be a turf field just makes it more consistent for sporting events to use our facility and for our teams to play on. And to change it to this and to improve it to this grand nature, I think makes a statement that Rapid City is a baseball town. It gives us the opportunity to bring in more teams for tournaments, And like I spoke to at the site visit, we're not just talking Legion baseball. We're talking the potential to bring in Little League tournaments. We're talking bringing in softball tournaments. When we do this and the way this field's designed, we're going to be able to put up temporary outfield fencing. We're going to be able to move base pads around. We're going to have a removable mound system so that we can accommodate these other teams that require different distances to the base pads, to the pitching mound, that sort of thing. So it's not just going to be for post 320. We're going to be able to have it for multiple uses, multiple sporting events. We could also do some type of football in here. We'll still have the dimensions to be able to play football games inside of this facility as well. So we're not just talking post 320. We're talking community-wide use potentially for this facility. Which, if we bring in more events, more tournaments, more people, more out-of-town teams, that just means a greater impact on return on investment for the city of Rapid City. More tournaments, more out-of-town teams coming to town, staying in Rapid City for a couple days. That's hotel rooms, that's food, that's tourism, that's shopping, retail. That's all tax dollars coming back to Rapid City, which is a great return on the investment. So it's not just about the sport. I'm not looking at it as just the sport. I'm looking at it how it can impact Rapid City in the long run on the return in the investment that you folks are putting into this. So if I can keep scrolling down, can we go to the next, the budgetary? There. The spreadsheet, please. So I've kind of created, and you should have the copy of this, the cost estimates for the whole project. The field turf itself is roughly 1.2 million, roughly, a little hair under. And that includes being able to sell some advertising for some field logos, put the Pete Lean logo back into the field as well. We have roughly little over 2.5 million, or excuse me, 250,000 for LED lighting. We have 7 poles there that we would improve the halo lighting and put in new technology LED lighting. And then the seating is, again, these are estimates. This is a rough ballpark estimate of almost 13 million for that seating, that structure. And that structure can be done in phases. It's kind of broken up into kind of 3 sections, the center section, and then the 2 outer wings, in addition to some additional unshaded seating on either side. And that could be done in phases if we needed to, if we had to. Probably that would be the way to go, because we would like to try to do some of this stuff in our off season, and so that it didn't impact our seasons as far as timing for play and that sort of thing. So, so the total estimate cost for this project is just a hair under 15 million. So, with that, I will open it up to some questions.
Thank you very much for that presentation. I'll lead off, and just looking at the numbers here that you have, and then looking at the request, I'm just curious how you landed on $5 million.
$5 million initially was just kind of the first rendition of what we kind of had initially thought about for the seating. The 5 million, we knew that would cover the field costs, that would cover the lighting costs, and we thought we could do some type of improvement to the seating. The stands and the seating and everything like that has come about from one of our family members of the program, and through his vision, I guess I would say vision, his traveling around the state, looking at ballparks and trying to get an idea of how to improve our field, Pete Lean Field. This is the concept that he came up with. The initial one that I gave you guys at the tour, at the site visit, that was one of his as well. But between him and these architects, they've kind of improved it, taken it to another level. And the first time that I saw this here, roughly 2 weeks ago, the wow factor that I had with it, it made me think I was walking into Busch Stadium in St. Louis or Rocky Stadium in Colorado. My son, I showed it to my son, and he's like, wow, this would be really cool to walk into every day for practice and to play at every day. And I think that wow factor for the boys, to give them some pride that, hey, we've got a pretty cool facility. And I think teams that would come to play regular games, tournament games, would have that same wow factor that, wow, this is a pretty nice facility. They really care about baseball and want to make it, are passionate about it. So that's where this came about. And so therefore, with that, the numbers had to be adjusted.
Chair recognizes Reese.
Yeah, I have two questions. First, I've read conflicting reports on turf versus grass and how it increases or decreases the chance of athletic injuries. Can you maybe clarify a little bit more on that, on the research that you've done for this project and the turf that you've selected?
So my background, and this is going to be kind of contradictory, but my background is actually in turf grass management. My real job is I'm the golf course superintendent at the golf club at Red Rock. And so I take care of turf every day, real grass every day. The concept with going from real turf to sports turf is more so for the ability to use it without extreme damage in the shoulder seasons, as I call it, the late March, April, when the grass is dormant, and in November, late October, November, and possibly into December here in Rapid. Those are usually typically for cool season grasses when the cool season grass is not actively growing. It's what's going into dormancy. And so if you have multiple uses on this field when turf is dormant, real grass is dormant, you're sustaining injury to that turf, and it's not able to recover. And so inevitably you're creating an extreme wear to it and potentially death to it in coming out into the spring. And so going to a sports turf, you eliminate that. You can play on it as long as there's in this town. I've been here since 2001. Our springs and falls are, you can have 80-degree days in January, or you can be 20 below. And so, having a sports turf, you're not causing undue stress to a living plant. Now, as far as the injuries, sports turfs have come a long ways. This is going to have a crumb rubber and sand mixture worked into the
quote-unquote canopy of the sports turf, of the AstroTurf per se, the fake grass per se. So it'll provide a cushion there for athletes to play on. I've seen injuries. Injuries are going to happen, I feel. Do they happen more on sports turf? Maybe. But the nature of the beast, I think injuries are going to happen regardless if it's on natural turf or on a synthetic turf.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And then lastly what is the warranty on the turf that you've selected?
Excuse me?
What is the warranty on the turf that you've selected?
The warranty on this is 15 years.
Thank you.
Yep.
If allocated the $5 million, is there a plan to get the remaining balance at this point?
Yes, we are actively pursuing other avenues, other sources for revenue. We have already been in talks with the Lean family as far as getting their blessing on this project. Obviously, it's their name is on the field, so that was my first concern, was to go to them and get their blessing on any kind of renovations that we would do. They are on board with helping with probably some monetary. They had to talk to their board, but for sure with some materials. It would take some materials for some underlayment on this turf, and then they would also would or could supply the concrete panels that would be used for the seating areas, and all that could be pre-made and manufactured. You know, if we got the go or had the funding, they could start working on that right now while we're in season. And then that length of period for construction would be shortened because all the materials would already be pre-made. They would just have to be brought in and set in place. So, but yes, we are looking at other avenues for funding, for sources for funding. Possibly putting more names on the field for that sort of thing as well to represent that. So,
Anything else from the committee? Oh, Chair recognizes Lloyd LaCroix.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Richard, thank you for your presentation and showing us that big picture. After our site visit, it was enlightening to see what was going on. But I just wanted to convey to you that, you know, baseball's doing a lot better in Rapid City than I ever remember. And this committee's, I think we looked at 5 different fields that help feed up to 320. And so we have a very difficult decision to make as far as, do we help them when they're younger, getting up to where you're at, or do this? But, you know, thank you for the plan, and I just wanted to mention that we do have 5 other baseball fields that are probably that need a lot of help too, and I just wanted to just make you aware of that.
I saw that in when the list came out. I saw that and knew that, you know, this would be a difficult task for you folks to make a decision on, and but at the same time, you know, in my application process, I didn't really talk about baseball. I talked about the economic impact that this facility could have back to the city of Rapid City. So, I'm passionate about this because obviously my son plays there. I don't see this, maybe the field being done, if granted, before my son leaves the program. Luckily, he's got 3 more years left, but so hopefully we can have it done before he leaves. But you know, it's it's a passion of mine. My son loves baseball, and just want to do this for not only my son, but the 50 other kids that are at Post 320, and then all the other athletes that we could potentially bring in to play on this field. So.
Well, thank you, sir. That's all the time that we have. Again, I'll echo what Mr. LaCroix says, and thank you for your time and for the tour that you provided to us. It was very insightful, and you guys do a great job over there with your program, and we appreciate everything. So thank you very much.
Thank you guys for your time. Thank you. Thank you.
Ignite, if you guys are ready to go, we are. I just briefly will little housekeeping. We're seeing the same screen here that you're seeing up there. The top left corner for you has got the 10-minute time clock. Little small, but
Yep.
but it's up there. We are sticking to 10 minutes for the public presentation portion, and then we'll roll immediately into the 10 minutes of Q&A.
Okay, no problem.
If that works for you, sir,
Yep.
And you're ready, the floor is all yours.
Am I controlling the screen with this mouse then?
Yes, or the clicker, either one.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having us. We are, I'm Thomas Metzler. This is Terrell Akeley. We are coaches at Ignite. We're going to propose or present this Vision Fund proposal to upgrade our Campbell Field facility. So I'll give a quick overview of the club itself, sort of the background of it, and then go into the technical aspects of what we're asking for. Wrong button, I guess. Wait. There it goes. Okay, so Ignite Soccer Club started in 2020 with about 40 players. It's a nonprofit organization here in Rapid City, sort of a grassroots organization that started from a need to find a middle ground soccer environment that's family friendly, affordable, somewhere between the recreational and the academy level play that Black Hills Rapids has. So we started again with 40 players. That was total between the U6s to the U14s. 5 years later, we're registering 200 kids a season. So it obviously struck a chord with the community. It struck a chord with me as a coach. That's why I coach there, is because I think personally it's something I wish I would have had as a child. My parents definitely wish they would have had it, with 4 siblings all running around at 4 different locations, 4 different nights a week. It's a really one-stop shop soccer practice that the whole idea was parents could drop their kids off all at one place, pick them all back up at the same time. With 40 players, you could do that with one field. Obviously, with 200, we can't get 200 kids all at Campbell Field all at once. So the City of Parks and Rec organization gave us access to the Minnesota Street field. So that's where our U8s through U12s go, and then our U14s practice at the Campbell Field. That chart in the bottom right just gives you kind of an idea of the growth pattern that we've had the last 5 years. The green line being year over year, all age registrations going up. The U8 and the U10 groups are also increasing, and we have upwards of 150 kids on our waiting list trying to get into the club. We just don't have space for them right now. So we'd like to invite as many as we can, and we understand that that's sort of the building block to make sure we have enough numbers for U12 and U14. The orange dots there are registered coaches in the club. Obviously, that has had to also increase as we register more children. And with good talent, you bring good coaches. So we've been able to sustain that. So we're really happy with where the club's at today in terms of a size and sustainability perspective. In terms of a market, like I said, it's not really a business. We're not in the market to make money. We're just trying to provide a family-friendly environment for all of these children to play multi-sport athletes and be, that child, that person that's better at home, better on the field. From a parent perspective, we want them to be able to commit to baseball, that we want them to go do track, we want them to do Girl Scouts and band, and also have this soccer community that they can come back to, whether it's in the fall, spring, indoor. We're really trying to serve a broad range of athletes and what their interests are. Anywhere from 4 years old, we have in the club, up to roughly 16-year-olds. We'd like to get older than that, but right now we don't have the space or the daylight to do that, unfortunately. So our alumni, we've been in as a club for 4 or 5 years. A lot of our players are playing in all of the high school areas. They're coming back and giving back to the sport as refs. They're helping us with field maintenance. They're coming back as coaches. So it's great to see the turnover that we have in this community. So the project itself, we want to put lights up at Campbell Field. Minnesota Street, that's a opportunity that we can use, but the Parks and Rec still has that lease. Campbell Field is a lease that they gave us 5 years ago when we started. We have maintained it. We've paid for the mowing. We've weeded it, raked it. We take care of all the maintenance. So what we'd like to do is take some, roughly $70,000 to put up lights so that we can use it past 6 o'clock in the fall. Or 6:30 in the spring. Those early spring and late fall practices get to be pretty dark pretty quick. So our players are actually trying to play by the headlight, ambient light from cars in the parking lot. So, somewhat of a safety factor. Obviously, coaches don't let it go too late, but it would be really nice to work into whatever hours of the night we need to get all of our players sufficient training time. In terms of funds, this is kind of a breakdown of what we're looking at. I had lights quoted at $52,000, the hardware. Obviously, there's other extraneous costs associated with a project like this. Overall, I think $105,000 would be conservative. I think it probably would be upwards of, $150 could be. But luckily, we have a relationship with Black Hills Energy, the National Guard, and a local electrician who's also a coach at the club that are willing to donate materials and donate time to get these lights put up. So we'd need to purchase the hardware. Black Hills Energy would donate the labor to bring power to the site. They'd have to bring it across Campbell Field. We have that plan laid out with them, and if we get funded. National Guard, they have a group of soldiers that need practice on community projects, so they would bring the materials, they would bring the equipment to trench the power lines, and they would install these lights at no cost to us. It was just a training opportunity through the National Guard that was presented to us. And then the local electrician, he would also, as long as we provided the materials, he would be okay wiring it and would donate his time and labor to do that. So the base price for those lights is $52. There is an upgrade if we wanted to go somewhat of a brighter foot candle illumination. Don't necessarily need that, but obviously we'll take the money, whatever you guys are willing to give us, and we'll use it to maybe upgrade the field or maybe get brighter lights or something. But 70 grand would be what we're asking for. In terms of the alignment with the comprehensive Rapid City plan, I'm not going to read through every bullet, but you guys understand that putting lights up at a field like this on the east side of town allows us to give more time to other community organizations. Rapid City Christian High School is looking to use the field to practice. Rapid City, who else was it? Black Hills Rapids has asked to use our field for some of their tournament games. West River Soccer Association has asked to use it for some of their adult leagues. And we'd love to give everybody the opportunity to use it, but it's really hard when we need to prioritize our club on Tuesday, Thursdays when we practice in limited daylight. So, if there's Monday, Wednesday opportunities or Friday or weekends that they want to use it, great. But we'd really appreciate the lights so that we can be as flexible as possible with all of these organizations that are looking to share it with us. And then the ongoing cost of maintaining the lights, obviously there's insurance, there's field maintenance, cost for the electricity. Black Hills Energy, based on the calculations, we're willing to donate the labor to get power to the site because of the refund or the payback that they're going to see in the next 1.5 to 2 years based on the usage that we anticipate. And then any incurred cost would be fundraising or a slight increase in registration by the club for all of our 600 registrations that we do over the course of the year. In terms of a bigger idea for Rapid City, I call it a snowball, but what you can see is this is taking down sort of the initial investment opportunity or the barrier that an organization like Sanford or Monument might be interested in putting their name on the field. So if you get lights up, all of a sudden it's pretty easy to conceptualize maybe new fences. You can blow the west side of that fence out and extend that green area for more usage for other clubs, whether it be flag football or lacrosse, whatever the city decides to use that field for. It's still their land. It would be their lights. So you could conceive of new fences, new nets. If you wanted to turf it and put a bubble over the top and rent the space for indoor activities, you absolutely can. It could be used in conjunction with the fairgrounds as well, since it's in such close proximity. So really, this is just an initial investment that you'd be using Ignite as labor to increase and update that field. Again, the funding resources that we'd have would be Black Hills Energy. We'd fundraise within the club to cover the costs of whatever this ongoing maintenance is and National Guard assistance. Obviously, this would all be organized and planned through the Parks and Rec Department. We have a really good relationship with them. They maintain the sprinklers and the water at Campbell Field and at Minnesota, and we've been able to figure out mowing schedules, and we're on a good page with them. So they're ready and willing to work with us to do this as well. At that, I will take questions.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I'll lead off. What age groups are currently utilizing that field?
Currently utilizing would be U14. We have our U6s through U12s at Minnesota Street. As we increase our U8s and our U10s and our U6s, that 150 kid group that I was talking about that are trying to get into the club, if we're able to accept them, we'd keep them at Minnesota and then push our U12s to Campbell Street. We'd run our U12s first and then our U14s after, and we can do that with lights. You can run at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the deep fall or the early spring, where right now we can't, so we have to keep everybody right where they are.
Thank you.
Yep.
Chair recognizes Kyle.
Is it correct that you put in for a vision request in the past?
We
And it
did.
wasn't-
Yep.
How does this differ, or does it differ from what you put in before?
Yeah, I think it's just a scaled down version of what we asked for the first time. 4 years ago, or whenever the last cycle was, I believe the proposal was 400,000, and that was for a bathroom, a concession stand, actual structures with a field upgrade, lights. There might have been fencing in there. So this is just basically the bare minimum of what we'd ask for to extend the club and give us more sustainable practice time. We don't need a concession stand right now. We don't need a bathroom. We rent a porta potty that's dropped off. We have a storage shed. So we have what we need to be functional. It would really just be lights at this point. And if the city decided to use that for more, tournament games, or they wanted to turn it into a bigger city resource, then they could throw their own resources at a bathroom or some kind of, permanent structure if they wanted to. Or if Ignite has the lease at that time, we work together to build what you guys want as the city.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Chair recognizes Greg.
Thanks for coming, guys. Do you have letters of support or some letters of intent from the people that you intend to use that will help offset some of the costs from the National Guard or the electrician, saying that they will agree to donate their time and materials to do that part?
Yeah, I mean,
I think the
official
committee would feel
letter of intent
I
on
think
a,
if the committee had saw something tangible, that would be helpful, I think.
yeah, I mean, I can certainly get those and submit them to you.
Okay?
Yep.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Reese.
So just to confirm, the lighting is the only barrier that's prohibiting these 150 kids to get into the program?
Currently.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Now, I guess if we get the lights, are we going to be able to sustainably take all 150 at once? Probably not. We want to do it the right way, right? We want to bring coaches in with those kids so that they're getting a quality soccer education, make sure that our coaches are vetted and they're good people. So taking 150 overnight probably is not the right way to go.
Okay.
But it would give us an opportunity to accept more of those groups on an ongoing basis, as well as expand to our U16 to U19 groups, where those kids are going to high school, but they're not necessarily wanting to play off-season in a very, very high competitive environment. They want to play recreational soccer competitively at tournaments in Sioux Falls, Rapid City. So these lights would enable that growth as well. Yep.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Holly.
When we were at the tour, you mentioned a safety aspect to those lights. Do you remember that?
The safety with installing them, or the safety that it would
Like to just light up that area?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a light pollution with neighboring communities that we will take care of. I've vetted that, and we're okay in that perspective. The safety I was talking about was the kids when we're practicing and we're trying to finish practice at a reasonable hour. You know, we keep pushing it back every fall. You know, we make 3 or 4 adjustments to practice times, and it gets to a point where we have to start almost at 4:45. And the parents have a hard time getting there, and we try and get as much practice out as we can, but inevitably by the end of it, these kids are trying to shoot a soccer ball into a net, staring into car lights from the parking lot. And it's really not a safe environment for them to practice. Obviously, we'd like to be there out as long as possible, but that's probably the safety thing I was talking about, is removing that barrier of worrying whether kids can see properly. You know, these lights would keep the field consistently illuminated for as long as we needed it to.
And this might be a question for both Jeff and for you. And completely hypothetical, and I just don't know. Has there ever been a discussion about, with the growth of the organization, and the lights already existing on the fields on Omaha? I know you do flag football out there. Is there any opportunity to maybe take the club that direction to those fields that are obviously have more space, more lights? I know that, like I said, complete ignorance. I don't know if there's more that takes place there. I know flag football, but just with the growth and the current infrastructure, parking, everything that's already there that would benefit a club growing like this, is that a possibility, or has there been a discussion? Or
I don't think we've had a very in-depth discussion about that. We do use those Omaha Street fields, as you mentioned, for flag football, and we also have that's one of the areas that does get used during some of the soccer tournaments. They do use that because they're looking for every bit of green grass out there. But we haven't had a serious discussion about use of that field for increased growth of the program.
Yeah, and I guess from the Ignite, thanks. I guess from the Ignite perspective, we started the club with this mindset of trying to be as family-friendly as possible. So the fact that Campbell was a one-stop shop, all the parents could drop their kids off, we practiced everybody at one location, was really convenient. And so that when we got Minnesota Field, you know, it was 5 minutes down the road. Parents can stop on the same side of town, drop their kids off, bounce between it as they need to. Omaha would be a great space. It would just be inconvenient for the parents to be on 2 different sides of town with possibly a U8 practicing at Minnesota, U14 at Campbell, or U14 at Omaha, or vice versa. So I'm sure we could figure out, you know, some way to share that field if need be. It would just go against what we've sort of stood by as a club. Not that the space is inappropriate, it's just the convenience factor.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Chair recognizes Matt James.
It's related, out of curiosity, what happens at the polo grounds, the neighboring polo grounds to this field? For instance, is there soccer practice there?
So we did use the polo fields 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago. It's pretty rough ground to be running around kicking a soccer ball. We used it for a season right before Minnesota was sort of, you know, given us as an opportunity to move our goals over there. There are no lights. Yes, is it conceivable that we could move the whole club? Absolutely. Yeah. Right now, I think there's some kind of flag football or Pop Warner football that practices there, but I don't know that it's a scheduled event. I'm sure it is. I'm sure they have access to it, but I don't know that I've seen a lease or somebody's, you know, owning that as a club. I think it's open space that nobody else uses on whatever nights we practice.
Anything else from the committee? Alrighty. Well, thank you guys so much for the tour that you gave us the other day and for your time and for the presentation. I like the message you guys have with your club. It's definitely not, you don't have to make a blood oath to an organization. It allows families to be more flexible and have multi-sport athletes, which is something that I value tremendously. So I think you guys are doing a great job, as evident by your growth. So thank you very much for everything, and keep up the great work.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Kyle, you ready?
All right, welcome everybody. A few housekeeping. We are seeing the same thing on the small screens here that you're seeing up there, sir. Up in the top left corner for you is your time limit. There's 10 minutes for the public presentation portion, and then we'll follow up right away with 10 minutes of Q&A, if that works for you. And if you have everything ready to go, the floor is yours.
Great. Thanks, John. Well, good evening, Vision Fund Committee, and thank you for this opportunity to present our vision for a new skate park in Rapid City. My name is Tony Seidel, and I am here on behalf of Push Forward, the Rapid City Skate Park Association. We are a group of Rapid City residents from all walks of life who share a deep connection to skateboarding. Our goal is to bring a state-of-the-art concrete skate park to Omaha Park to provide a free and safe place for both the residents and the visitors of Rapid City to enjoy their hobbies and to learn valuable life skills. This park is centrally located in our city, and we feel strongly that this project will benefit the community as well as cement Rapid City's reputation as a hub for outdoor recreation in our region. So why a new skate park? That's the first question we get asked anytime we meet somebody new. Really, the existing skate park in Rapid City is more than 20 years old. It was poorly designed, it's built in one of the roughest areas of the city, and frankly, it's a gathering spot for quite a bit of nefarious mischief, to put it lightly. The existing park is so unsafe that I know families avoid bringing their children there. Individuals will not skate there alone because of the surrounding threats. And we feel that this proposed location for this new skate park is in a much safer part of the city with ample lighting and visibility from major streets. Additionally, our action sports facilities have seen very little support in maintaining our community's standard of quality as compared to other outdoor facilities in recent years. With the support of Mayor Salomon, the Rapid City Parks and Rec Department, the Rapid City Police Department, and the Black Hills Disc Golf Association, our proposed project site is in the quickly developing recreational epicenter of Rapid City, affectionately known as The Gap. With the Omaha Park Disc Golf Course, M Hill, the Bike Path, Founders Park, Rapid Creek, and much more, we believe this intersection of Omaha and Cross Street serve as the best location for a new skate park. We also know that there are locally owned restaurants and businesses within walking distance of this location, further promoting economic development and the sense of community we aim to nurture. We believe in investing in the design and the construction of this project as well to create a world-class facility, both in the functionality for the user as well as the visual appeal for the city. I've provided a few examples today on those handouts of one company in particular, their aesthetic design. You'll also notice on that sheet is a list of the locations that these parks were recently built in, all in the last 7 years, I believe. And those are up-to-date population estimates. You'll see most of those populations, those are communities of 5,000 people, less than 5,000 people. And in Rapid City, we have 80,000 residents, and we're growing. And the Black Hills in general, with 180,000 people and growing, we believe Rapid City is due for a project of this scale. Now, skateboarding and other related action sports have some of the lowest annual costs compared to other sports per a 2019 study by the Aspen Institute, as well as cost of entry is also in the lowest percentiles. A complete setup, that is a skateboard, safety equipment, is a fraction of the cost that it is to join a team sport like football or lacrosse or baseball even. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 13.3% of the city's population is living under the poverty line. And now I share these figures to demonstrate the need in our community to provide creative and safe outlets for underrepresented youths and others who may not have the opportunities or the desire to join team sports. I also think this ties into those community standards of quality that we provide to other outdoor facilities. When underrepresented youths don't see their interests being supported by the community, they further feel estranged from the community, and we see great benefits when they feel heard. Now, our goal is to build a 20,000 square foot skate park, and that comes with a price tag. Estimates from some of the recently constructed parks here in South Dakota put our project's construction costs between $1.5 and $2 million. The firms we would use for the design and the construction of this project also charge a 5 to 7% commission rate for their designs and their logistics. This puts our total project's cost just north of $2.1 million. Now, we are prepared to work in phases, despite what I said at our tour on Monday. You know, with the design phase taking about 3 to 6 months with public input and coordination with the firm, and then a construction phase being 6 to 12 months. That would be dependent on full funding, or weather is also a big factor when it comes to these construction projects. We also look for things like in-kind donations. We've been communicating with Pete Lean and Sons and their ability to possibly provide substrate or concrete when the time comes. We're looking at talking with Black Hills Energy for opportunities to help with the lighting and other resources there. So we're exploring other opportunities to help us reach this goal, and ultimately we are willing to work in phases to get the project done. So our next steps, we regularly talk with local skaters about our project. We encourage the youth to participate in our events and to help spread the word. Some of our members of the group have pretty public-facing jobs, and we encourage everybody, especially the young people, to get involved in our efforts when we have the chance. We promote our group and our fundraising events on local news stations as well as on our social media pages, and we're excited to bring this project to life. Now, with my remaining time, I have about 4 minutes, I'd like to introduce Kyle Mesteth of Ground Control. He's the CEO of Ground Control, an indoor skate park and multimedia outlet based on the Pine Ridge Reservation. Now, the fruits of his effort in his community are a model for us as well as other groups across the state. So, Kyle.
Hello, everybody. First of all, I want to say thank you for having us speak here today. Impact that skateboarding had on my life and my community members in Pine Ridge has been unmeasurable. The reason why I created Ground Control is to eliminate the off season, because when it snows here, you guys know how it gets, and it just stops us for months on end. So now we have no off season. We skate year round because skateboarding was also recognized as an official Olympic sport. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to build up these athletes, because as soon as you give a kid a skateboard, it creates tenacity and it gives them confidence. I've seen kids barely talking and speaking when they showed up to Ground Control, you know, hang out for about a month, come up shaking my hand. "What's up, man? How you doing?" They're so happy. They're so confident, and they're strong, you know, and skateboarding, it really teaches them a lot of lessons about, you know, getting back up and trying again. They face themselves and nobody else. It's an individual sport. And in my community, in the skate community, we have no suicides, and on the reservation, suicide is it's an epidemic. But within our skate community, there's no suicides, and that speaks a lot to how great extreme sports are, like skateboarding, BMXing, and by having a world-class skate park, which we have on the res, it gives them an opportunity to see who they really are. They create friends for life down there, and it's just, for me, it's been life-changing, and it's my life. Skateboarding is my life, and ever since I became a dad, I had to figure out what I'm going to do with my life, and I have 2 sons. I have an 11-year-old, and I have a 1.5-year-old, and this is why I do what I do, because I need to make my community safe for them, and I figured out through skateboarding that I can have an impact on my community, and I have. I've had an impact on the state of South Dakota. I've traveled to Sioux Falls, and we've done this thing called InnoSkate, and I've worked with them over there at the Levitt, and in my town, it's just, for the past almost 4 years now, I've really seen a lot of change within just the youth. You know, during the summer, like all the kids, they have skateboards in their hands or a scooter or something, and it's just really mind-blowing to see how skateboarding just changes the lives of somebody just in one day. You know, in one day they figure out just how to ride the board, and then in a month they got buddies that they met at the skate park the first day. I've become the coach of the Pine Ridge Thorpes for the skateboarding team. They never had a skateboarding team. We got skateboarding in Allen-I up here in Rapid City. We got it a part of that. And it's just truly life-changing. And my sister also became the coach at Lakota Tech for skateboarding. So everything I do, I try to involve skateboarding or skaters. And then, you know, skateboarding also is an art form. It's not just a sport. It's a way to express yourself. And just with the art on the bottom of your board or how you do your videos. So at Ground Control, we also focus on that, being able to create videos. So a lot of things can blossom from a skate park, not just skateboarding or BMXing. Art comes out of there as well. So thank you guys very much.
Thanks, Kyle. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that presentation. I'll start off if that's okay. First question I have is, so the Evergreen essentially would just do the design, is that, and put together maybe the construction documents, or what's their role in this? Can you walk me kind of through step by step, I guess, what the process would be?
Gladly, and I may tap on some of my my group mates here in answering as well, but we would work with them from beginning to end. They'd be instrumental in the design phase as well as employing the construction on site. They have a team of in-office design, and then they have their construction crews that perform the work.
Okay, and I might tag into finance then. Is this something they would have to go to bid for, I would imagine, using these dollars? Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Any item that would be over $50,000, they would have to go out to bid according to our state statute.
Thank you very much. Chair recognizes Lloyd LaCroix.
Thank you. I think, first of all, I got a comment. I think, you know, I love the location on this. I think that's the selling point. I mean, I think Rapid City's been supportive of the skateboard park, you know, on New York Street. I think you're right. It's in the wrong area, attracts bad characters and so forth. But I think it was an attempt to try to get people there to alleviate that. But I guess my question is, like I said, I like this. I like the location. As you know, our ability for the funding is $2 million. Was it $2 million, 2 million, 2, 3? So what would be the possibility? Yours is 2.14. If you were awarded 2, could you do it for 2? Do you have a contingency in there of 10% already?
I think that 2.1 figure is ultimately our goal, to utilize the full amount of the space we're given. If push comes to shove and we're told we need to build with what we have, that's certainly possible. We can modify the size of the park in the design phase, which I guess I have a question back to the committee, that if the project were to go out to bid, does that mean the design has to go out to bid as well? If the design's going to cost more than $50,000?
Chair recognizes Daniel with finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We would need to go out for a request for proposals for that, and at that point, a designer would end up being chosen. For the designer that is chosen does not need to be the lowest responder, because that is a professional service that is taken into account, but by far the highest requirement is really what their professional skill set, what their resume and other projects, and their likelihood of designing a project that fits the needs of the community. That's the highest priority for that.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Matt James.
Yeah, just a couple questions quickly to confirm. Although it's called a skate park, and maybe you mentioned this, there are other uses, is that correct? So, for instance, bikes, rollerblades, scooters. Can you clarify, and do you designate who's using it at what point, or is it all using it together?
It would be a free use space for all and any wheeled equipment, I suppose. Yeah, scooters, rollerblades, bicycles. There is a series of unwritten rules and etiquette at a skate park where the users, they work together to share the space. We feel that that's totally normal to keep working as that, under those same sort of conditions.
And real quick, the examples that you brought, the concrete that's shown, the features, there's like an outline kind of on some of these that have a color. Is that a different material than concrete?
It's a painted concrete.
Painted concrete,
Yep.
just to emphasize the features.
Correct.
Thank you.
Some artistic flair. Please, Derek.
Chair recognizes Matt Hasvold.
Yes, I had a question, basically just on kind of the financing part of it. So is it essentially the designer will basically take 7% of the funds as that's kind of their fee?
Their fee, yeah, 7% of the total project cost.
So then the $2 million, is that essentially like $100 a square foot?
Correct.
Okay, that's okay.
Correct. Yeah, we've seen estimates from some of these premier companies ranging from 50, 60 per square to 100.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the other question I had is a lot of these look like pretty monolithic, I guess, is the way to put it. Whereas like I think the site that we're looking at has quite a few of those big trees that you were looking at, trying to preserve those as well.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing it's going to look a little bit different than one of these. But is that something that they've designed around before, I assume?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Can I jump in and just go back to that last question briefly? My name's Derek Unrein. I run a nonprofit indoor skate park in town. And I just want to emphasize that, yes, anything on wheels, bike, skate, scooter, anything. We want this park to be family friendly, meaning that a 6-year-old can skate and have fun or bike, cruise around, as well as, older teenagers and even some more seasoned skaters like some of us that you see here. This is going to be really a family-friendly place where people can congregate, cultivate their passions, do what they love, build that community, as Kyle said, and really pursue their dreams. Like you heard, this is now an Olympic sport. We could even host large competitions here with the quality facility. So we're hoping that, someday there could be the next X Games champion or Olympian or kids that go off to get sponsored and pursue their dreams. So I just wanted to emphasize that family-friendly aspect of skateboarding. So.
Anything further from the committee? Well, thank you guys very much for the presentation and the tour. Just viewing the site, I echo what the committee thinks or has said, and I can further express. We love the location. I think you guys did a great job picking that out. The designs are very helpful for all of us non-skaters. And we did go and tour the websites and stuff and looked at those different New Line and Evergreen and some of the things they've accomplished, and it's definitely something I feel Rapid City could very much need, and I think it'd be a very, very helpful addition to this community. And I appreciate all your guys' efforts towards that. So thank you so much.
And thank you guys.
All righty. Looks like we got everybody back. D'Amico, are you in good shape, sir?
Physically,
if you need
or
a minute, if you need, yeah.
That's a loaded question, sir, but yes, I'm good to go.
Just a few general housekeeping. We're seeing the same screen here that is visualized up here for you. Up in the top left corner, you'll see the 10-minute timer. It's a little small, but it's there.
Oh, God.
We'll have 10 minutes, of course, for your presentation, and then we'll jump straight into 10 minutes of Q&A.
Okay,
So if you're ready, sir, the floor is yours.
awesome. First, I want to go ahead and introduce myself. For those that don't know, my name's D'Amico Rodriguez, Executive Director for the Rapid City Sports Commission. Dave Dolan, Caitlin Sandland also work for the Sports Commission. Thank you all for your time. I bet I've sat through 3 rounds of this, and I know how laborious it is, so thank you for your time and your civic duty. Maybe we'll see you on the mayoral dais or the city council dais after this as well. So I think the easiest way to do this is explain kind of how we got here. The Rapid City Sports Commission was founded 2 years ago, and we started to invest in some studies right off the bat to figure out who we are, where we want to be, some of our weaknesses, and some of our strengths. So just a quick overview. The mission of the Sports Commission is, again, to create a thriving sports industry by bidding on events, creating and maintaining events, communicating the value of sport in Rapid City. And I did highlight a few of these things that directly align with the Vision Fund and the Vision Fund process. Identifying priorities for capital investment in existing facilities, and also championing a new facility funding and development. Some of the weaknesses that were outlined by one of our groups, we brought in Huddle Up to help stand up the Sports Commission. Their number one weakness was lack of adequate participation-based facilities. I know some of you have had kids play sports in Rapid City. Finding gym space is very difficult. That was one of our big weaknesses. Also, the use of current facilities and limited access to host incoming events. Also, perceived hotel inventory pricing during peak season, and then lack of community-wide plan and buy-in for sports. The Rapid City Sports Commission has been working on those for the past 2 years. Opportunities, obviously off-season sports, focusing on indoor sports, but without the availability of indoor facilities. That's been one of our biggest opportunities and also one of our biggest hurdles. Community engagement and galvanizing the area leaders, bringing together fragmented sports organizations or facilities and organizations. That has probably been one of our biggest hurdles. We started that process even through the merger of Little League and Rapid City as well, which you'll hear from them over the course of the week. Also, the big one is strategic investments to gain a competitive advantage. You see facilities in our region popping up, Sioux Falls, Fargo. Those are communities that are a little bit larger but have seen the need to invest in facilities. Some of our threats, division among user groups, mentioned that. Lack of funding for facility maintenance and investment. Also, as well, lack of funding on an indoor sports facility. Competing against user groups for funding, volunteers, etc. This process, you're hearing about it. There's $12 million and a lot of people are going for those funds. Also, until now, there was no clear strategic plan for facility investments. Also, just so that everyone understands who we are, what we do, again, here's kind of our pillars that we work through and that we work towards. Facility development enhancement and an indoor facility are some of our priorities. Also, leveraging our natural resources, including facility and trails master plans. Those are things that are going to continue to be on our radar. And I say this at every time somebody puts a microphone in front of me. We travel to Sioux Falls oftentimes for sports because that's the largest base of athletes close to us. But I say this, Sioux Falls comes to the Black Hills to vacation. So how we can leverage that moving forward is kind of one of our pieces. Funding, trying to create additional funding mechanisms, not just for the commission, but also for our initiatives. Communication, just again, telling people how important sports are. Also the economic impact and how big of a driver it is for our community. Also events, creation of events, trying to recreate events. We've been working with city or community leaders on a marathon, different kind of events, things like that. Also the retention and growing of events. We've been working with L&I for the expansion. We've worked with the school district, Central and Stevens. They'll be going to 64 teams starting in 2026. We were helping facilitate some of those conversations, as well as powwow and making sure that we have a voice for the South Dakota High School Activities Association. Recruitment, tumbling and trampoline. We're hosting a national championships here this summer. We're hosting a BMX national championships here this summer. And then, of course, in the fall, we had SDSU playing Northern Colorado, working on a few other games even this year. And then also product development. One of the things as a parent of athletes is I understand that we need to have a very good base for our kids to get better. We see this in surrounding communities, camps, training, those kinds of things are readily abundant in Fargo and Sioux Falls. It's limited here. And so that's one of the things, camps and development of those. Also, the Rapid City Sports Hall of Fame banquet. There are still tickets available May 5th if anyone is interested. That's something that we have taken over recently and will continue to do that. So that's in a nutshell what the Sports Commission is. I also want to just go to, I know some of you saw the pictures in the large booklet that we gave you. The booklets that we gave you were the studies that we paid for in order to get to this point. And here it is, the concept. This is just a picture of what it would look like on the outside. Obviously, we just have sports complex on there. No true naming of it yet. We also, again, just some additional pictures of what it could potentially look like. But the main one is what is in it. The left side is an indoor turf soccer field. The premise is 8 indoor court basketball courts that are convertible to 16 volleyball courts. There's also additional space for food and beverage. The final conceptual drawings have not been finalized yet. So this is just to kind of help us tell the story of what it could be. Funding. The first thing that everyone has asked me, how are you going to pay for this? This is all fluid, but the moral of the story is we've explored 5 different locations for this facility, working with city planning, working with certain developers. There's an opportunity for TIF possibilities. Also, within the past 2 weeks, we have gotten confirmation from the Rapid City Hotels that they're willing to implement a second hotel bid of $2 per room per night. That would generate about $1.5 million annually, which could help pay for this facility. Vision funds, again, I know we asked for 6, but we understand the value of a lot of these different projects, and we know that everyone is vying for funds. New market tax credits, I've been getting a lesson on how that works. Private donors, that's a low-end number. And then, of course, the cost of the facility is on the right side. So we've got a little bit of a gap, but I believe that the private donors portion, we haven't even shaken down some of our largest investors in the community, but that's absolutely on the table. I mentioned the hotel bid. Again, that would generate about 1.2 to 1.5 annually, and $1 million of that would go towards the facility itself, the funding of the facility, or a bond, with an additional $300,000 for operations. The goal is to not put any of that on the city's back. The bid would take effect 90 days after its passage by council and must have the approval of an ordinance by city council, ideally before the city council turns over. It is on the city attorney's desk. It was vetted by several local attorneys that we employed, and then some hotel owners that are also attorneys. And then, of course, those funds would help us. In conclusion, we would be able to help with a lack of indoor community space. We don't have a community center, which blows my mind that a community this size doesn't have that. And then it would be able to be used Monday through Thursday for community, and on the weekends for events. I mentioned 5 locations. The burden of the operational costs will not be on the city. And then some of the other questions is, who's going to run it? The pro forma has a third party. We've been approached by the monument staff, different things like that. So in conclusion, the city is not a major funder of this. They're a partner. And that's what our proposal is from the Sports Commission.
Thank you very much, D'Amico. First of all, splendid job at getting all that in 10 minutes. I know that something like this, which I'll be as transparent as anybody, means a great deal to me, this project. You to get all that information in 10 minutes and do as clear as you did is impressive. So thank you very much for that. With that being said, I'll open it up to the committee for questions. Chair recognizes Greg.
John, I guess I'll go first. We were in Sioux Falls recently, and they've got an immense campus. Do you know how that was financed, or?
A gentleman by the name of
Sanford.
Sanford, Denny Sanford. I think the total investment there in sports was about $200 million. But I do know that there were some TIFs as part of that process as well.
It's impressive. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And just for context, the facility that we're envisioning would be similar to that complex, but attached as one, as opposed to walking across the street. And then Fargo recently opened up their second phase of their facility, which is actually the model that we're looking to go as well. Same kind of idea.
Chair recognizes Matt James.
Thanks for the presentation. I feel like this facility, I've got a good feeling of what it would look like on the week, Friday through Sunday, hosting tournaments, impacting the local economy and whatnot. So I'm curious what it looked like Monday through Thursday, as you kind of described. And I guess the question is, and you mentioned maybe a community center, would this be an inclusive facility that addressed a variety of sports to a variety of ages of the entire community? And what would that look like? And would it maybe address what I'd call intramural sports, those that are not held at a highly competitive level, but are very accessible for all types of people in the community?
So the model that is that has been very successful across the United States in this space has been trying to leverage it for schools. There's one in Ohio that it's a large facility next to an amusement park, but Parks and Rec uses it for programming, which we've been in conversations with Parks and Rec. Is there a way to, pickleball in the afternoons over lunch or noon basketball that has happened in Rapid City for a long time. Also, it's been favorable from a new market tax credit standpoint to pursue childcare in that avenue as well, to where it could be used during the day, because let's be honest, these facilities, the reason we don't have one is because they don't make a lot of money. So if you looked at the pro forma, some of that is renting out space to clubs. There would be a tenant in there. For instance, I'll just use Sioux Falls. They have the academies by Sanford's in there for training. That would also be that aspect. And then from the rec standpoint, ideally, with 6 courts, we'd love to. This is a city project, although may not necessarily be run by the city. We'd love to offer some of that space for the city to use for some of their programming as well. The opportunities are abundant, and inside the pro forma does shake out how some of those revenue streams are outlined.
Chair recognizes Reese.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate this project as I've seen firsthand the dire need that we need for facilities. And I just think this additional facility will help us compete at a higher level and really compete with the East River team. So I like this project. My one question is, I know the original request was for 10 million, and you've just mentioned that you guys have now changed it for 6 million. I just wanted to clarify.
Correct. I mean, we'll take everything, but we also understand that we need to be a community partner. There's only so many funds available. So our budget outlines 6, which opens up a little more money for other projects. And I think it's just a fair concession to make.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Matt Hasvold.
Yeah, my question was about the new market tax credits. I'd never heard about that. Can you give me 30 seconds on that?
It is, it's how people can get tax credits by funding a project. Meaning, if you sell a lot of real estate, rather than taking the tax hit on that, you can fund in a new market tax credit that would give you tax breaks, and that money basically helps fund the facility. And then if it's a grant or there's another version of a flat out loan, we would be pursuing grants to where people basically over a period of time get to get tax breaks for funding projects throughout the United States. We're working with a company out of Virginia.
Can you just give kind of a brief explanation on what the $6 million would do for you?
Well, it would get shovels in the ground quickly. Obviously, it's going to take us some time to generate the revenue from the hotel bid. However, with the hotel bid and a commitment from the city, we can work through that process and get something done sooner than later. We still don't have a final concept, but that $6 million will absolutely allow us to leverage the bid tax to get things done quickly. And then, of course, we would have a fairly large bill to pay over the next few years. So continued, even spreading that out over several years would sure help the process moving forward.
Anything else from the committee? Chair recognizes Matt James.
Yeah, when you described the facilities, I think you mentioned the synthetic turf area as a soccer field.
Yes.
And certainly in the graphics that presented, it is lined as a soccer field, but it has multiple uses.
Correct.
So maybe elaborate on that.
The largest turf space that you find from a competitive standpoint is a soccer field. So a football field will fit inside of a soccer field. The issue has to be the boundaries on the side. So yes, if you've ever been to one of the facilities that I mentioned, they drop down nets for batting lanes, for Sioux Falls just put down sport court in the middle of theirs to create additional court space for volleyball. They just hosted a very large tournament. So it would be multifunctional, but also in the pro forma, it does outline a orthopedic rehab space. So there would be a gym with, if it was Monument Health, Sanford Health, a partner to come in, they could run their orthopedic rehab sport portion out of that, which would ultimately help be a tenant in that space. So it would be used for a bevy of different things, all sports included in there. It's just nets come down and you go from there.
Chair recognizes Lloyd LaCroix.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. D'Amico, you have in part of your financial plan a TIF, and from my understanding, you're looking at what? Maybe possibly five different locations?
Yep.
And so in these locations, there would be able to have a TIF in each one, and would they overlap another TIF? Would they?
So technically, we have identified a few locations that are favorable for TIF funding, in conjunction with potential development down the road by the city of Rapid City. So yes, again, those numbers are can fluctuate based on the location. That's a high-end number, but yes, it's in conjunction with potential city development and having those conversations. We've already had those conversations.
Okay, thank you. So you have 5 locations?
Yep.
Okay.
Chair recognizes Daniel with finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just in response to that question, we have been working with the Sports Authority in that, and we have identified a few of those locations where there are some large private development that would be generating tax increment that would be available for a project like this. Depending on the site, there's a different amount because unfortunately the increment can't just travel anywhere in the town, but depending on the location, there are different amounts that would be available for a community facility such as this.
And ideally, development, this would be strategic development to enhance whatever is going on there. Rapid City is landlocked. Many of you know that. So this is going to be strategic development for the next phase. And whatever you do, a sports complex or facility will only drive economic impact. And I think that's my final piece is Vision Fund has always been a great thing for Rapid City. Our Vision Fund project will make more money for the city. It will help raise more funds for the Vision Fund moving forward.
Well, thank you guys very much. D'Amico and Dave, for those that don't know, these are two guys whose heart is with youth athletes here in the Black Hills, especially Mr. Dolan, who was one of my coaches and has done more than words could ever express. The unity you guys have already accomplished as far as sports have gone in Rapid City, I've been a part of some of those, is something that should not be taken for granted or spoken lightly of. We've been disconnected for a long time, and you guys have already done a great job at bridging those. So thank you so much for the wonderful presentation and for everything you've done so far.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All righty. I think we got everybody back and we're ready to go. Just some general information. What you guys see up on the screen there, your presentation we're seeing here on our screens in front of us. Top left corner has your time, 10 minutes for your presentation. And then following that, we'll move right into 10 minutes of Q&A.
Okay.
So if you guys are ready to go, the floor is yours.
Yep, we're ready. Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Stephanie Erickson, and this is Julie Sewer. We are honored to serve as Harney's treasurer and secretary. Tonight, we want to talk to you about something that's very dear to us, our community and the future of our youth sports facilities. Over the past couple nights, you've heard many wonderful presentations about projects that are dear to each of my cohort's hearts. These projects are vital to our community, and I am grateful for the opportunity to share our vision with you. As I reviewed the list of items up for vision funds, I noticed a recurring theme: youth sports facility issues. From McKeek Field to Black Hills Rapids to Harney and Canyon Lake Little League, these cherished facilities have been dedicated to the youth of our community for some of them for decades. They are all requesting funds to ensure the safety and enjoyment of our kids and families. We live in a tourism-driven community, and while I understand the build it and they will come mentality of new facilities, many of us invested in the youth of our community have to tweak that model slightly to read, maintain it and they will come. When all these presentations are done and the committee deliberates, the question I urge you all to consider is, if not vision funds, where will the funds come from to maintain the facilities we already have? Currently, many of the items used to repair our existing facilities are donated by local businesses, and the labor is provided by dedicated parents who volunteer their time. These businesses and parents share a common goal: pride in our youth sports community and desire to see its legacy continue. But we need your help. These businesses and parents don't have the means for the scope of work that's needed for these facilities. If these facilities do not receive the funding they are requesting, the safety issues and ADA compliance requirements will not disappear. In the 2025 season, Harney Little League alone is welcoming 162 more players and families than last year. This brings me to the urgent need for upkeep and improvements to our complex. Hope it's a little bit off, that's okay. An overview of Harney Little League. Harney Little League provides youth sports opportunities. It hosted 354 registered athletes in 2024. And like I just mentioned, we now have 162 more for the 2025 season at 516. Every one of our divisions outside of our majors division was maxed out this year. And that comes from the half merger with RCYB. The community-driven organization fosters teamwork, athleticism, and a love for baseball among children and their families. Our existing concession stand. The current concession stand is a small, aging structure that lacks proper amenities and space. It is not equipped to handle the needs of a large number of visitors, making it inefficient during busy game days as there is no storage or backstock items. Our current bathroom facilities. The bathroom within the concession stands are undersized and not ADA compliant. They do not provide adequate access for all individuals, specifically impacting the overall experience for users during the events. And I'm sure when you guys took the tour, you probably saw the porta potties around the facilities. We've had to have those for years. And now this year, adding 162 new players, the need is even greater. Our only ADA compliant bathroom is a porta potty on our top fields. ADA non-compliance issues. The current facilities do not comply with ADA standard, posing significant barriers for athletes and spectators with disabilities. These deficiencies highlight the urgent need for renovation to ensure accessibility and inclusivity for all. Demolition of the existing structure. The existing concession stand and bathroom building will be fully demolished to make way for a new facility. This step is crucial to eliminate outdated and non-compliant structures, ensuring safety and accessibility for all users. Here's the proposed design for the new facility. The proposed design includes modern amenities for both the concession stand and bathrooms, while ensuring ADA compliance to promote a more comfortable experience for visitors. Right here is the updated bathrooms, which is half of the facility. The updated bathroom design includes modern amenities for both men's and women's bathrooms, ensuring they are spacious and easily accessible. The new bathrooms will feature wide doorways and accessible stalls, aligning with ADA standards to further support inclusivity and ease of use for individuals with disabilities. The other half of the structure will be the updated concession stand. The proposed concession stand design includes wide doorways, local storage room, and separate utility room for greater convenience to help keep the entire facility maintained and well kept. And then the next 3 slides are a little 3D rendering that we had done of the facilities. It's a lot bigger facility for ADA compliance. Together, we can ensure that our youth sports facilities remain safe, welcoming, and well-maintained for generations to come. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thanks very much for that presentation. I will open the floor for committee questions. Chair recognizes Lloyd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Stephanie, thank you for your insight and overview of what you just said and doing all the homework. You know, one of the key things that I think that I heard from you is you didn't stick out and say just me, our field. You went through the Vision Fund requests and seen how many there are out there that needed to be worked on and how many of them are the sports facilities. So you actually encouraged all of them. And so I really appreciate that you come forward like that and did that kind of homework.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Matt Hasvold.
Yeah, a couple questions for you. So, the porta potties, do you have an estimate on just like how much you're spending per season approximately on that?
Those are getting donated to us each year.
Okay, nice. And then, if you had to go, I noticed it's like 4 stalls per bathroom. Like, could there be a smaller version with like 3 in each one? And I'm just thinking if you were to get $700,000 or something like that, would it be something that you could scale down a little bit?
I would honestly think the bathrooms is probably not what we wanted to scale down. Right now, it's 3 stalls, and it's still not enough for what we need to fit.
Hi. So I see, the request kind of mirrors the estimate that you got from the construction company there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have a plan for hiring a design group to actually put together the bid documents, construction documents, all that stuff? Because over $50,000 of taxpayer money, this would have to go to public bid. And so is that part, do you guys have funds set aside to do that, or would you be using the funds that you're requesting to help with the design and getting to bid?
There's potential that we could come up with some of the funds for that, but probably not the full amount.
So the total price that we're requesting does include the design, permitting, and everything that we would need for the total project. We did request extra, just understanding that the Vision Fund is for 5 years and taking into account that, with the cost and inflation going up, that the project could go up, and we don't know if we would get this funding this year or in 4 years. So we didn't want to risk getting a bid today and that project increasing over the next 4 years. So this total price is slightly inflated with that in mind. So we did calculate that.
Very good. Thank you so much. Chair recognizes Mary G.
Thank you. Any consideration for family bathrooms?
We could consider that. It's not a bad idea at all. So we could consider that. At that time, it would then, that one stall would be are you meaning 2 separate family bathrooms or just?
My thought is you've got families with little kids.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing they're going to have little brothers and sisters.
Oh, yeah.
How do you accommodate for that?
We could accommodate that in this facility.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the committee? Well, thank you guys very much for your time. Obviously, I played a small role in the merger, and so the increase of athletes, while it's also very exciting to have a closer knit baseball community, it does add extra stress on,
Yep.
on the volunteers, I should say, because all the little leagues in town are volunteer driven. They don't have staff or anything. So I commend you guys on all your efforts as volunteers and your leadership in helping bring Little League a little bit more continuity and making it more accessible and available to everybody in Rapid. So thank you so much for your time on this and for everything you're doing for baseball in Rapid City.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alrighty, so for those online and for those in the general public, we are going to pivot and do the Rapid City Street and Maintenance Campus redevelopment project next, and then the video management system will follow that. So we are gonna go ahead with that, gentlemen. Up here, we're seeing the same thing you're seeing on your screen. Top left corner has your 10-minute time limit. Once that's concluded, we'll move into the 10-minute Q&A. Appreciate your flexibility on coming up and ready to go. So if everything's ready on your end, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, committee members, for hearing our street and maintenance campus redevelopment plan. And thank you to those that were able to make it down to the street campus last week. Appreciate that. My name is Gerard Kemmerer, and I'm a program development manager for Public Works. I've been with the city for about 2.5 years, and I bring 22 years of military experience in maintenance, asset management, project management, and operational management.
And I am Alex Cushman. I'm a professional engineer. I've been with the city a little over a year now. I bring 10 years of engineering experience and 4 years of military experience as well.
So the fleet maintenance program manages over 800 vehicles for the city of Rapid City, and those range from your light duty vehicles all the way up to your big hydro excavators, your plows, graders, those sorts of things. We're staffed with 17 mechanics, maintaining over $55.8 million worth of city assets. And as you might have seen down at the Streets campus, Some of our facilities down there are very dated. Shop 1, 1952, Shop 2, 1981. There's a lot of issues that we have operationally with upgrades. We're not able to upgrade our electrical system now due to costs, so any type of expansion that we want to do with equipment, we're very limited on. And our inability to maintain the 24% of our city vehicles, and that's due to the operational limitations of the facility. That would include the bay size, the working space available for the mechanics. We do have some limitations with our larger vehicles. During the winter weather months, we have to do those services outside because the vehicles won't fit in the bay. So our mechanics have resorted to sometimes having to put a tarp over the engine and run some propane heaters to kind of warm up the blocks of our diesel equipment and perform those maintenance tasks outside. Throughout the discovery that we did for the proposal here, we really modeled a lot of our hopeful expectations out of Lenexa, Kansas. That community was pretty much in the same boat as we were, with old facilities, a growing fleet. As you could see in the picture there, it's a great example of the versatility that a new 16-bay maintenance facility could offer. For those of you that were able to come down and view the campus, you kind of saw the ceiling height limit that we had and the way that we had our vehicles and equipment positioned down there, the limitations that we have. So in that picture, you can kind of see that they have the big ladder truck in the back, the loader, and then the medium and light duty vehicles throughout. And that really encompasses what we have here in Rapid City for vehicle types. But it would allow a better conducive work environment for our mechanics, reducing any type of short-term disability claims, injuries, bumps and bruises. Not that we have a lot, but having that more conducive work environment would be great for our mechanics.
And we just wanted to kind of reiterate, the size of this proposed facility is based on a design handbook published by HDR Engineering. They're a global engineering firm. We're looking at, the bay sizes, how big the bays need to be to serve the vehicles they're intended to serve, how many vehicles can be served by that bay. That's where these recommendations are coming from. And you can see, the typical approach with a facility like this is to build it 10 years out. The roughly 16,000 square feet of the proposed building puts us at about 2036, 2037 numbers, which is right where we want to be. As you saw on the tour, the proposed site is the current site of the condemned traffic ops building. That has been condemned for 15 years. I think it was last used for police exercises. They threw flashbangs in it. It needs to come down, and that's where the proposed building would go. Should this project get funding, we're looking at doing design the end of this year through the winter, with construction starting in 2026. It would be complete in 2027. I'll talk about the 8 new mechanics later. And just a reminder that this is phase 1 of a larger project, but it is not dependent on phases 2 through 4 to be a success. This project is a success with an aggressive payback period as soon as the doors open.
So in regards to some of the project benefits for the community, increasing our fleet readiness is a priority for us. We want to ensure that we're able to get out and plow the streets, respond to any type of water main breaks, our public safety vehicles, ensuring that is ready to go at all times. And this allows us to having a more efficient fleet, saving the tax and ratepayer money that we invest in that $55 million fleet. I'm sure if you all own Ferraris, we wouldn't really keep them outside. We'd really want to take care of them and maintenance them, keep them indoors, that sort of thing. So really taking care of that fleet that we're investing in overall. And then, like I had mentioned earlier, those employee benefits, we really want to retain our talent that we have as far as the mechanics go, and just providing them a great conducive place to come to work every day, just to have that pride of what they get to come do, what they get to come serve the city, and kind of showcase their talents and kind of be efficient and productive in that manner. And then as far as the economic benefits go, our mechanics are stellar here. They do a great job, and we know that we can do a greater job than we can by outsourcing those maintenance costs. So for some of you that have read that proposal, last year we spent nearly almost $600,000 in outsourced maintenance costs, and a lot of that can be dialed back in by self-performing that in-house. And by being able to do that, we can reallocate those funds elsewhere. The maintenance program operates off the general fund, so we don't have a lot of versatility in the budgeting that we do receive, so we'd really try to make do with those funds that we do have. And I think some of the other submittees had kind of mentioned that there's not really a lot to do with their facilities, and we're kind of in the same boat with that, that we don't have a lot of funds to dedicate to do these upgrades to these needed facilities. Also, reusing the existing site at the campus kind of saves that money, where we don't have to go out and look at a chunk of land or kind of jump through the loopholes of things. And where that campus currently is located at, that is pretty much centralized to all the entities that we do service. So having that one-stop shop in that centrally focused area really does provide easy response, easy drop-off, easy maintaining and pickup. And then also, we did present a return on investment, which Alex will talk about here in a minute. And we really believe that there is a lot of cost savings associated with developing this new maintenance facility.
So we think this is really cool, so we made a whole slide about it. But yes, our return on investment is 16.5%. That equates to a 6-year payback period. I mean, you can see, yes, adding 8 new mechanics adds some expense, but a better maintained fleet lasts longer, uses less fuel. And so you can see in our business report prepared by Daniel Ainsley, our city finance officer, we still have a huge annual net savings. 2 questions we'd like to get out in front of that we didn't touch on in the proposal. Why vision funds? There's no other current funding source. The maintenance budget does not have facilities improvements as a component of it. Our CIP funds are primarily utilized for reconstructing streets, doing drainage projects, and maintaining previously awarded and constructed vision fund facilities. And you know, why? Well, we were surprised to learn that the fire department submitted a separate request for another maintenance facility. We would just like to stress that we have a great working relationship with the police department, and we think we can do the same thing with fire. Looking at their proposed facility and ours, I don't think it would take much modification to our proposal to accommodate them as well. And that's something we would absolutely be willing to work with them on. The mayor's quote, you've seen it before, it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek joke for us around the office, but you know, we think this is important. You know, this project is identified in the comprehensive plan. It aligns with a responsive, accessible, effective governance. And just a reminder, like, we haven't asked for vision funding before for this project. So I apologize, it was kind of a lot of information, but I'd like to open it up for questions.
Thank you guys very much for that. And I guess I'd just like to start off by saying that the tour was extremely eye-opening and borderline depressing. And I sincerely applaud you guys with the level of service you provide this city, and the facilities that you do it out of is remarkable. So I commend you guys on that.
Thank you.
With that, I will open it up. Chair recognizes Holly.
I just wanted, actually don't have a question, I just wanted to say thank you for the tour.
and that I see this project as something that is very high on, I know, my priority list. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Matt Hasvold.
Yeah, so you mentioned that or in the mayor's code, it talks about how he wants it included in the comprehensive plan. Do we know, given that some of the vision funds were already dedicated to comprehensive plan projects, do we know if any of that part of it is committed to that, or I guess I'm not sure how that works?
Chair recognizes Daniel from Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The funds that have been set aside for the comprehensive plan have not been determined yet, how those will be used. We do know that there's a very large airport project that is going to have to be funded through that, because that's the only funding stream. And so I do anticipate that the majority of those are probably going to end up going towards the airport terminal expansion project.
I did want to just touch on something, because I've been kind of using, the comprehensive plan is very interesting, because I've kind of been thinking in the back of my head that, would this project catch us up, or would this help align with the next 10 years? And so I just want to kind of clarify on that. Obviously, this is a 4-phase project, but this specific one you're requesting, that would not only just catch you up, correct? It would set us up for the next 10 years as well, or put us in at least in a better position to be successful in the next 10 years, if I understood that correctly?
You want to take that one?
Sure. Thanks for the question, Mr. Chair. Both. This catches us up on our, large, heavy-duty bays. But, 10 years from now, I think with the growing city fleet, there will still be a need for smaller bays to service things like PD vehicles.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Greg.
Thank you for the tour the other day. That was eye-opener. Drive by there a lot. Never really took it, I guess, like a lot of citizens take it for granted. Streets get cleaned, the garbage gets picked up, life goes on, right? But it's clear that the city has not invested enough over the last 50 years. Is that fair? And I'm wondering, $8 million is a lot of money, but you need so much more. Is there and you do have a bigger plan, but I don't know if we approve $8 million, is that just a start? I mean, is there another mechanism to bring us up to the 21st century when clearly nothing's been done for a long time? Because it's just probably not very attractive, right? It's like buying underwear. I mean, the streets are clean, the garbage is picked up, and so it was really great to be there. Also, it's probably one of the easiest sells. There's a documented payback to this project. I mean, it's clear. But I just wonder if $8 million is just going to get you going, and it really needs more than that.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just don't know if $8 million is just get you to bat.
So kind of the approach that we're taking now to meet the mayor's intent is reducing our outsourced maintenance costs in all aspects of maintenance, so facilities, fleet, that sort of thing, and try and centralize all that. So that's going to reduce our outsourced maintenance costs and our costs associated elsewhere that we're spending that money. So over time, that money that we're saving can be put towards that. But like, again, since we operate off the general fund, I think Daniel might be able to answer that a little bit better for future forecasting and whatnot. But did you have anything to add, Daniel?
Chair recognizes Daniel with Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This definitely would not fit all of our needs, but with that being said, it would be a giant leap forward compared to where we are. And I think one of the key initiatives that the mayor has, as well as the council, is trying to ensure that we are as efficient with taxpayer resources as possible. given their scarcity, and also, frankly, just trying to be good stewards of the hard-earned money that is provided to the community. And the mayor and staff have looked through a lot of the expenses that continue to go on day in and day out. And when we see a lot of these tasks that can be self-performed, but frankly, we're paying $150, $200 an hour, it's something that pretty obviously we can be saving taxpayer money. So this would not by any means solve all of the issues, but it would be one way that we can demonstrably enhance the likelihood that high quality mechanics will stay with us, so that they're not working outside when it's -20, and also being able to save the taxpayers' resources so that we have more money each year in our operating budgets to maintain the existing facilities, whether they're parks or sports or roads or whatever else that we have, because right now our budgets are stretched pretty thin.
Thank you, Daniel. Anything else from the committee? Well, gentlemen, thank you. One second. They'll get you on there, bud.
Oh, there we go. That is, this was a real eye-opener for us to see, or for me at least, to see how your crew has to kind of do a workaround for everything because of the situation. And I just don't know how we can help alleviate that and make it a great place to work, get the job done. But if the committee, I don't know, nobody knows, if the committee doesn't do it, if there's a mechanism that we could help the city do to get this moved forward in a, you know, in a grander and bigger picture, bigger scale.
That's really our operational limitation is just our facility size and the number of mechanics that we have. So increasing that space and those FTEs would really allow us that operational output to kind of tackle more maintenance on our fleet and get into the more preventative maintenance rather than the reactive maintenance that we're somewhat in now. We're able to do the preventative maintenance, but I think we could do better at that.
Hats off to your team for doing a great job.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I guess since we have 2 minutes, I'm going to ask. The whole campus redevelopment, if there was a funding mechanism to do it all, would we be able to do the whole thing? All 36.5 million? Or does it have to be phased out in the amount of kind of the year? Did you guys phase it out based on funding availability? Like, but I guess I'm just asking, like, and I get what Greg's saying. He's like, is this a Band-Aid on a cannon wound? But if we were to have the funding, you know, if you guys were to have the full funding, would that be something that we could do the whole project in one big chunk? All 4 phases?
I think we'd be able to do the project in one fell swoop. The only limitation that we would have would be the logistics for the street department and their personnel and their equipment. So if we were truly going to make this a maintenance facility, we would just have to work around that shop 1 area that I pointed out with the streets and stuff like that. So really figuring out how to house them and their equipment and make sure that they don't interrupt any of their operations, I think it can be done with some great coordination.
Very good. Well, gentlemen, that's all we have for you guys. Again, on behalf of the committee, thank you guys for everything that you do for this city and for keeping it as beautiful and as good as you can possibly do. The tour was very eye-opening, and I encourage anybody in the public, anybody listening, if you have a few brief minutes to drive by and go take a walk. And I think you'd be very surprised by what you see. So again, gentlemen, thank you so much for everything. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Well, we'll just take just 2 minutes quick just to use the restroom and stuff. And when we come back, is video management, are you guys all ready to go? Very good. Okay. We'll come back in a couple minutes here. All righty. On to our last presentation for those tuning in online. We did switch the last two, so this is now the citywide video management
when it gets to it.
system. Gentlemen, I'm sure you've been kind of informed, but we're seeing on these small screens the same thing you're seeing up there. Up in the top left corner is the 10-minute timer. 10 minutes for your presentation, and then we'll move directly into 10 minutes for Q&A. So if you guys are ready to go, the floor is all yours.
All right, just real quick for an introduction, my name is Jeff McCoy. I'm the Special Operations Lieutenant for the Rapid City Police Department.
My name is Matthew Lehman. I'm the traffic engineer for the city of Rapid City.
Hello, I'm William Overturf. I'm the IT systems architect for the IT department with the city of Rapid City.
Technical difficulties.
You're right. So kind of starting off, just kind of where we're coming from, historically with the city, we're seeing, Rapid City has seen amazing growth in the last couple of years. Historically, if you look at population over the last 30 years, in a 10-year spread, we're seeing growth of about 8,000 to 7,000 people annually. As it sits from 2020 to 2030, we're expecting to see that population growth to be about double that. So 16 to 18,000 in a 10-year spread. So we're seeing a massive growth across the city. What that entails with that growth, obviously we're seeing increases to the traveling public with commuting, congestion, vehicle accidents. We can see the chart there on the side. Those are just kind of some of our main intersections throughout the city, not all of them, but to give you a context of how many vehicles are driving through these intersections on a daily basis. For example, Fifth and Omaha is seeing 46,000 vehicles, and that is 46 points of potential conflict that could happen with an auto accident, pedestrian, and any type of collision like that. So, with these growths, we're seeing impacts with the traveling public. One of the big ones is auto accidents is something that we see a lot of, and it is something that we have frustration with, especially at traffic signals where you see someone running a red light or not obeying and causing a collision that could be preventable. And the other aspect of that is pedestrian accidents. Specifically, those are the most critical type of collisions where injury or fatality is, a lot more greater. It is something that, with that growth, we're seeing more of those type of collisions. I'm sorry, I'm an engineer by trade, so I do not do very good with this, but
Mac,
bear with me, okay? It's been a while since I've had to do a public meeting.
Is it okay if I add something here real
Yeah,
quick,
go
Matt?
for it.
So just on numbers from a law enforcement perspective, when you look at the accident numbers in front of you, you're just kind of getting a broad scope of how many accidents we're seeing in the Rapid City community. So seeing about 2,000 is right around the average or so per year. We don't have accident hit and runs up there from a law enforcement perspective and from an investigation side of things. That's where we get into the he said, she said. We get people obviously leaving the scene of an accident. Video plays a crucial role in determining what actually occurred. So from 2022 to 2024, we're averaging somewhere around 500 per year of accident hit and runs that we actually take cases on. That isn't an accurate number in regard to, because when we have misdemeanor accident hit and runs with no solvability, meaning no video or other evidence or witnesses, we don't investigate those. So those numbers would only go higher, and the solve rate, anywhere a citywide video management system takes place, the solve rate for not just accident hit and runs, but for all criminal activity, more than doubles. So this is about getting justice for victims, not just in hit and run accidents, but also violent crimes. That's all I got.
Yep, I'm gonna lean
Okay.
back, you can keep you going.
All right, so this is just a graph here for what we have at city parks. We've highlighted Memorial Park. It's one of our highest call for service getters. When we're talking about a citywide video management system, it's important that you understand too, we're talking about public spaces, so parks, which are very prevalent for violent crime. Some of the most notorious victims in our community are the houseless population, and we would be looking at having videos in public parks, public spaces, and just the magnitude of calls for service that we respond to and that we go in a proactive nature because we are so aware of said criminal activity. Our numbers are as high or higher in this area of Memorial Park, but it's not just Memorial Park, it's all our parks.
And so kind of with that talk, talking about, there's obviously operational benefits, not just for BD, but this is, across the board. We're seeing, it allow for standardization of multiple types of different systems that we already have at public facilities. For example, City Hall here has a system that they're utilizing. We have, video cameras, standalone systems over at some of our critical infrastructures like pump stations and things like that. And this would allow for that full integration of all these systems in kind of one platform. We're lucky here with the city and with the staff that we have the ability to do in-house implementation. In the traffic engineering group, we have 3 full-time signal techs that have the ability to maintenance and install these type of equipment and keep them operational on a daily basis. And so we would see operational benefits with that as well. It does as well, we kind of alleviated to PD's benefits, but also in traffic's world. In my realm, it's all about safety. How can, as residents of the city, how can you get from your home to work as safely as possible? That is ultimately my goal and the goal of PD here as well. And, this would allow for real-time ability to monitor traffic conditions and allow for, real-time changes to traffic as well. So if there is an issue, we're no longer getting, looking back at video feed, we could pull up of, hey, I had this problem at an intersection. We can pull up that video, we could see what the issue was, and we could address those as they arise. Instead of having the current method of doing it is we get a phone call, we try to, we call the people back, we talk to them about the issue, we try to go back and figure out what the problem was. Sometimes it might have just been a time of day thing where we can't recreate it. We don't know what's going on and we can't solve it. So on my world, it would help alleviate a lot of those issues. The other thing is it allows for safety observations. This is one of the systems that we have kind of trialed. As you can see, this was a collision that happened at one of our signals. It did strike the signal pole. Luckily, no one was injured during this type of collision. So with that, we would then, this is the following day. We had staff go out there you saw the collision, how it struck the pole and the shaking of the camera. That can have safety issues with the signal pole itself. So we need to verify that everything is operational, that the pole arm isn't going to fall down, everything's tight. This is the following day. This is traffic engineering staff that is going up in the bucket currently. And as you can tell right here, a secondary collision occurred right behind it. This one, the person was injured, unfortunately, but this is a good example of the he said, she said type of situation of, no, I had the green and I had the green. This would help alleviate a lot of those issues, and it would help with the traveling public in providing more accountability for people using the roadway system.
All right, so to end here, we're going to talk about just what we would use it for from the law enforcement side. It would be an investigative tool. I'm just going to highlight a couple cases that we've had over the past few years in Rapid City. I'm going to be vague with details. There was a homicide investigation I was a part of where a key piece of evidence from the suspect was placed into a public dumpster. We were able to find this video footage days after it actually occurred, after canvassing the area, talking to all public and private businesses in the area. Well, that dumpster, by the time we got to it, had actually been dumped. Fortunately, in Rapid City, it gets pretty cold, and that said item got stuck to the dumpster. That item was the key piece of evidence that got us our suspect, because it had the victim's DNA on it and had their DNA on it. And we had no idea who the suspect was until we got that item. So God bless the fact that it was really cold out and that item stuck to the dumpster. But I'm just trying to give you some understanding of how important it is and where we're at right now as a city. We are reliant on private businesses and residential Ring cameras to try to figure out what the heck is going on in our community. There was another incident several years ago. Middle of the day, a person was driving down on East North Street, collided into another vehicle, killed an 18-month-old child. Information from witnesses led us to a suspect right away. Well, that suspect had an ankle monitor on, and we were able to prove that person was not driving the vehicle. The reason we were able to figure out who the person was, and it took us time, was canvassing and talking to all these private businesses and getting camera footage to finally get the person who actually did this. And I know my time's up, but I would also say there was a very recent high-profile shooting that happened in Rapid City, and the only reason we were able to solve it is because there was a camera at one of our Parks and Rec facilities that was able to catch said suspects, and we were able to apprehend them right away and bring victims justice. So that's all our time.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you very much, guys, for that presentation. I'll start off. Not only is this a phased project, but it has to be phased. Am I understand that correctly, that each portion takes a year to be implemented?
I would just mention to the committee that this program's entirely developed in-house, from design to procurement to implementation. So we have a tremendous amount of flexibility. As we note in the kind of the quantifying it there, 51 traffic intersections, 20 public locations, so on and so forth. With whatever funds are allocated, we will take those funds and prioritize that based on the criticality. We'll just use the best we can to get the most out of it. So,
But I guess just to elaborate on my question a little bit. So if we were to allocate the whole money from our budgeting standpoint, because we have $2 million for each year for the first 3, and then 3 following that for the next 2. Could we each phase takes a year for your team to implement? Is that what I'm understanding correctly?
it's currently segmented for a 3-year plan. If it is more appropriate, we could re-plan that over a 5-year. That would not be any issue.
Or you could do it in 2 years.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, that's what I wanted to verify. Thank you so much. Chair recognizes Lloyd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, I see the value in this because my wife, she manages quite a few different stores, and she's been called from PD for, we need video. We need video for this. We need video. I mean, they got a lot of locations. So my question is, are you guys prepared also for when you get this implemented, the cost for employment? Because there's going to be a lot of stuff I need to review. It takes time to go through the videos to do this. Do you have that set up now? Are you prepared to hire someone that's going to be able to monitor and track all this? Because it is very time consuming. I know from the company I work for, they got to pull people away when they need that, and it's time consuming to go through if you don't have the exact times and dates. And I'm sure you guys know by reviewing the video voting. So do you have a plan for that also?
Right. Yeah, we do. Fortunately for us, we're kind of late in the game, honestly. There's other communities in our state that have already implemented a system like this. It's important that that you guys understand this has to be departments across the board, with IT, with Public Works, Rapid City Police Department, the Fire Department. We all have to work together on this and have cohesive policy. But like I said, we've been looking at this for a few years, and there's best practices out there, and we've definitely follow that. And another point, I kind of brought it up before about the solve rate going up. Well, the solve rate going up means more cases for us to investigate more. So yeah, I do believe that this would create more work, but it's good. It's good for the community. And there's also the factor that's very hard to measure, but that is the deterrence factor. people knowing that there's video footage out there at these major intersections or in these parks, does that deter that criminal activity aspect of it too? So there's evidence to support that it can deter criminal activity. So the hope would be is that would bring down the fact that you're going to increase your caseload because you're going to have more solvability to your cases. Our hit and run investigations, we're going to be able to solve a lot more hit and run investigations, but that's more work, that's more cases. So yes, the police department will need to think about that with staffing, 100%.
Just to follow up, I guess I don't believe it's a deterrent that much. People get used to cameras and they forget that they're there.
Yeah.
The biggest value I would think that this is for is solving the crime faster for people, because quite frankly, when you can go to a robbery or something happens 4 or 5 blocks away and you go to another camera, you can identify the vehicle because they didn't have one out in that area.
Sure.
And you're able to solve the crime with that crime. The victim's more important
100%.
than
Bring it-
and being solved, because you can put cameras all over in that park and same stuff's gonna happen and ain't gonna deter some stuff, so.
Right, 100%, totally agree. And I talked about some of the victimization that happens in our parks, being the houseless population. Those are some of the hardest cases to prosecute for very obvious reasons. It's very difficult to have a person that's houseless show for court hearings, and similar to prosecuting DV cases, it's very difficult for some of these cases to be prosecuted because of cooperation from the victim. So when you have outstanding evidence to support the criminal activity of a person, it leads to people being held accountable for their actions and justice for the victims.
You know, the one thing I would add to that as well is, you know, in traffic, we have a lot of physical assets out in the field. You know, we are responsible for managing all the traffic signals, all the street lights, all the signs, all the pavement markings across the whole city. I will say that last year alone, we had I think overall accident-wise, we had over $180,000 worth of damage done to traffic infrastructure, not across the city, just in my realm. Of that, over 90,000 was hit and run type of collisions. So having that ability to have that solve rate where, you know, for example, that traffic signal pole, to give you context, that is to replace it, you know, because obviously it's a safety issue, we can't leave it, you know, up. That would be in the realm of $40,000 to $50,000. And so having that ability to go back and persecute those people that are, you know, trying to, not just in the city, but across the, you know, this is a benefit for the citizens as well, because now it allows that, well, I got hit at this intersection and they took off. Well, now we can have the ability to help with that as well, and kind of bring some justice to the citizens.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Holly.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's a high priority because safety is just so important and it affects everybody in our community. But my thought is, who's going to have access to view this? Because there is a privacy aspect there that's important to people also.
I'll touch on it and then let Will give some more specifics, but I want to be very clear. There are state laws. We can't put a camera on somebody's door without a search warrant. Anywhere there's an expectation of privacy, there won't be a camera. Like I said, we have cameras everywhere. They're just at private businesses right now. So it's waiting to get that camera footage from private businesses, essentially. We don't have near as many at major intersections. Again, public spaces, parks, public spaces, that's what we're looking at. We're also not looking at anything remotely close to facial recognition. We're not looking at capturing audio. I had another thought, but I'll let Will go.
Yeah, that was terrific, Jeff. Just to be specifically to answer your question, we have a list of explicitly authorized users that are within the city. The facility owners have responsibility to decide who does and does not have access to their assets. When it comes to public spaces, we'll have a very short list that will be authorized through the police department chain of command and the IT people who support it, and that'll be the whole list.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Kyle.
Yeah, I forget, someone up there a couple times threw out that this was going to more than double the solve rate. Do you have data to back that up? Did you look at any other cities that installed these cameras, or was that just a guess?
No, there's research out there. If you just look at the police department in Miami, Florida, for one, would be one that's pretty well known. But also, I've been talking to no other police departments in the state of South Dakota, to include Sioux Falls, to include Sturgis. Their exact specifics I don't have, but I do know that there's been public information put out there for the Department of Miami. But I mean, talking to Sioux Falls, I can tell you that 100% they are solving way more cases than they ever were before. They just moved to something that we're not even talking about right now, but a real-time information center. They just moved to that, and they have seen a significant amount of cases being solved due to video that they were not solving before.
And the one thing I would add is the system that we are looking at would allow for scalability too. So if that is something that we wanted to, talking about the real-time traffic monitoring center, if that is something that was scaled, this system would accommodate that. So it does allow for future growth as well.
Thank you. I want to grab one more here. Matt Hasvold.
Yeah, would this be able to scan license plates?
You're talking about an LPR technology. That's not what we're putting out here today, but that is, the LPR technology is something that we would be interested in, but that's not what we're talking about here. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Will.
All right, well, gentlemen, that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for coming up and presenting this. Obviously, I think with as many parks projects that we have on our docket and the amount that we're investing in our parks and into our community, keeping them safe and keeping them accessible for everybody to feel safe is very important. And so I'm excited about the opportunities that this opens up to our community members. So thank you so much for your time and for all your efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks everybody for coming. That concludes this evening. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow.